Hello and welcome to the preview show edition of the Blue Monday podcast, the 3 times weekly show looking at all things Ipswich Town. I'm your host, Richard Woodward, and for the last day of school, I'm delighted to welcome back the brilliant Harry from Bath. As always, Harry, how's it going?
Good to see you. All good here, Rich. All good.
Special guest, just to test out that his internet is working, Mr. Benjamin Bloom. Ben, we can see you in crystal clear HD.
We're going to find out whether Talk can walk the walk. Ergo, have they passed their forklift driver's test, Richard?
They give the tests, Ben. You're looking very good. We must explain that you've been out of action from the internet. You've moved house, haven't you, and all that stuff, and internet has just arrived.
On the 17th, and the quickest they can do it is like 2 weeks from your movie date. So, yeah. And I didn't trust doing a full show on this thing, so thank you, Rich, for picking up the slack. But I'm back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. Carry on.
Yes, and we've been running amok since you've been away. No, it's
been great. I've been really enjoying the show.
Just in time for the last game of the season as well. So we're gonna the agenda for today. We're gonna obviously talk through last weekend very quickly.
An agenda.
No, get an agenda. Actually, that's not true. I was very. You put it special, that filing cabinet that you took. No.
It's too many already, isn't it? Sorry, Harry, I've hijacked it. Lowbrow.
We'll go back through Sheffield United. We'll talk about Leeds. It might be a bit of a tricky one, though. Probably my theory that there will be a full rotation. Ben doesn't think so. Ben's got a really interesting angle on that one. So we'll do Leeds. The pleasure of having Harry go through the squad as we have done for the last 45 odd weeks. And we've got loads of questions, as always. We're right at the end of the season. So like we've got Buckaroo out and our Game Gears out. We'll get through all the questions. We'll do, as long as they're not offensive, we'll try and answer every question today as a kind of a farewell for the season. And then we'll get kind of summings up from all of us of how we thought the season was. Classic. Brilliant. It'll go down in history. It actually will. That's the depressing thing.
Did you see for SkySports.com I gave it 1 out of 10?
Did you?
That's been published today.
I mean, it was interesting, Ben. If you're going to get a mark for interesting, it's up there, isn't it?
I thought, can you give it 0? No, let's give it 1. There you go. And I quoted you, Harry, actually. I said, the season that has mocked us at every turn. That's a Harry from Bath quote stolen.
Yeah, it has. Well, it mocked us again on Saturday against Sheffield United because we now have no fit strikers. We've got through Will Keane, and Caden Jackson possibly limped off with some injury as well. Ben, you were at Bramall Lane, weren't you? Tell us about the atmosphere, because it's probably a million miles away from the kind of atmosphere and optimism that's at Portman Road at the moment.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Absolutely buzzing, and that what I always call the big game feel, where the back of the concourse is full, like 40 minutes before kickoff. Everyone, there was something in the air, and as you guys covered on the preview show, they didn't disappoint. And I think a lot of Ipswich fans just kind of went with the story that was being, we kind of just watched as onlookers to the end of a brilliant story for Chris Wilder. Yeah.
And the thing that you kind of talk about, the atmosphere and it being kind of palpable and in the air, it's been ages since I walked to Portman Road. There was about 4 or 5 summers in a row under Burley where you walk down to Portman Road and there was a sense of anticipation there. We just haven't had that, and I assume that was kind of walking to the ground. You could kind of feel it as well, not just in the stadium itself.
Last time I can remember that at Portman Road is when Lincoln bought half of Lincoln, and I thought, oh God, this, something's something's a cooking here. There's something in the air here. So it was nothing to do with Ipswich anyway. But no, it was absolutely palpable. And I think you've seen some very funny videos of Chris Wilder,
Richard Stearman,
since
had a good weekend.
Richard Stearman and Johnny, and they were way too good for us. Let's just say it.
Harry, did you manage to watch it on the telly? Any thoughts?
I watched it on the box. Yeah. Where do you begin? Just little things. The lack of intensity, from a Town point of view, why do we go through this? The lack of intensity closing down, particularly when they got near our box, that was the pattern that kept coming up. And they were firing in crosses with pressure, with very little pressure. And the way they stood us up to play in, it was O'Connell who ran through to play the ball across to Hogan for the first goal. the birds on the trees knew that the fullbacks attacked in Sheffield, and I think Teddy lost him, Bish lost him. He just, he ghosted through, slides the ball across, but it all came from a very static moment outside our box. The lack of pressure. Second goal, Gherkins, I've wondered again, the corner spun into the edge of the 6-yard box, and the thing we saw with Queen's Park Rangers, that thing of, if you drill them in, fizz them in that close, are we vulnerable with Gherkin in goal? And Mullet, of course, highlighted that we had Jack O'Connell hadn't. Afterwards he highlighted the fact that we'd said Jack O'Connell hadn't scored many goals this season. And just to let everyone know, this week it's Adam Forshaw. Just to point that out, that's this week's Jack O'Connell. So just to get that in early.
Well, we didn't get. Did we say what was our? Oh no, it was bet on 20-1, wasn't it? To Ipswich win or McGoldrick to score at any time. That was to be expected. The one thing I want to call out, and I think you mentioned this on your post-match review, and has subsequently been proven by Sheffield United's own Twitter account, I think, or someone else, that this corner kick routine with the kind of the decoy drinks bottle routine, how we fell for that hook, line and sinker. Do you think that was deliberate? That was an Alan Neil special, Ben?
Absolutely do, yeah. As you know, if you've seen on my channel, I'm good friends with Jay, who's Blades Analytic, and he's told me, I had a drink with him before Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest, and we were talking about, I was at Sheffield United Villa, and so someone runs in front of the defender, and Medine takes 3 steps back, and they're the screen for him. They do some really, really clever stuff. And I was sat in the Tony Curry stand, again, apologies, I'm always up around halfway. So I was looking at John Fleck, and Jack O'Connell was right in my line of sight. And I'm sorry, it doesn't take that long to drink a whatever energy thing. He was deliberately stalling. He ran over to come short, and Alan Judge spotted him. It was a definite ploy, definite ploy.
And Billy Sharp and the keeper as well.
Well, you do find a bigger brain in the Championship than Billy Sharp. I'd like to see it. Yeah, clever bloke.
But I guess, Harry, we've got to be we can be magnanimous because let's talk about Sheffield United rather than Norwich. We talked about Norwich and said congratulations, and I think probably did justice to their campaign as well. It's a great story for them. It's kind of everything is fit into place, and everything that needed to go right to make this happen has happened. But Sheffield United is a great story for us because this is a team that has experienced League One. It's a good story because David McGoldrick is player of the season for them as well. So we have to say congrats and use this as maybe a bit of a model to try and bounce back, although they have been down there. They were down there for 6 seasons, I think, weren't they? Yeah. But
they were. It's one small side point. One of them said, and I haven't checked out the numbers on the dates when they all signed, but I wonder if Nigel Adkins quietly deserves a bit of credit for putting a lot of the building blocks in place before Wilder came along, because they said that he inherited a lot of his players. And I kind of went, oh, fair enough, that's great, and he took what he had and he modelled it brilliantly. I'm only talking 5 or 10% here, no more than that. But it's a small side point that he took what he inherited and he built a model of play, and then they just kept augmenting it and augmenting it. One of the progressives we talked about Ben and I talked about back in August, and they have progressed right. They've done it. They've pushed right the way through. It's fantastic. But it's that thing. If you have a clear model of play, players who are imperfect, which is what you get in the Championship, they play 20% above themselves. When but you have to do it incrementally. You have to build a style and a pattern, believe in it, and then just keep grafting on the quality as you go. And as we saw in January, that's what they did. In contrast, possibly we'll come on to Leeds. Looking at their January window, that might be a little side story we can touch on in a bit. Yeah.
Ben, I know we imagine, we pretend the Premier League doesn't exist, so we're saying goodbye to 2 teams and a third will join them at some point. But any thoughts on which team is better equipped to survive out of Norwich and Sheffield United from what you've seen?
Can I answer another question? I would say that it doesn't really matter, Rich. I think for both of those teams, just get up there, don't change too much, don't knacker your wage structure. It doesn't matter if you pay Ender Stevens double or Ollie Norwood double. If you get relegated and Everton want to sign them for 20 million, they go in anyway. So get up there, give it a good go. Don't do what Fulham have done and get rid of Kearney and that brilliant Kearney, Johansson and McDonald midfield. They're completely break it all up. Don't do that. Get up there, take the money. I contend that the elite tier of English football teams are the 20 teams in the Premier League and those in receipt of parachute payments. So the teams that go up are now in the elite, and if they even hit 5 out of 10 on how they run their club, they stay ahead of everybody else. That's all they need to do now. They've done the hard work. Don't mess it up now.
Norwich seem to have learned their lessons as well, Harry. There's some stuff that's come out today with interviews with Stuart Webber, and who's kind of masterminded the whole thing on the field, certainly, and the recruitment of it. Norwich appeared to be saying that the budget is going to be 20 million, and that will probably be it, and we'll live with that. And if we come down, we come down. But they'll be in such a stronger position as a result of going up, won't they? Now.
Yeah, if they're faithful to the model, exactly that. It's the same as Sheffield United. They drop down, they can do what Burnley did. Keep the infrastructure in place, keep the style, keep the way of thinking right. Expect they might lose 1 or 2 players, but I'm not sure, again, even if Norwich and Sheffield United, if they were both to drop, whether they would have players of sufficient quality that they would all be cherry-picked away by the existing Premier League teams. So you could see them regrouping to turn around and go straight back up again if that was the case. And certainly for them, it was a classic situation of the players blossoming in the second season. They had all those Germans, those imports, the players they brought in, learning the league in the first year, and then suddenly they had a brilliant crop of youth players coming through as well, so it was a perfect storm for them in that sense. But
Harry, can I just add to the perfect storm?
Go for it.
This was mentioned when Leicester won the Premier League, and yes, before I say this, Norwich, Sheffield United, and Leeds have been absolutely brilliant. But it is the failure of every parachute team over the last 3 years to do anything with their parachute money that's opened the way for Norwich, Sheffield United and Leeds. Norwich and Leeds are very good on revenue, but none of those teams should be in the top 3 given the financial advantages of other teams. Not taking anything away from them. And the same when Leicester won the league. Leicester had a great season when all the people who really should be above them had a bad season. If you count up your Hull, Swansea, Stoke, West Brom, Sunderland are even off in another division. All the parachute teams have just stood aside and gone, Mr. Wilder, Mr. Farker, on you go. Yeah. We're not going to challenge you. So perfect storm. But in our WhatsApp group, and Joe was very fair and very right. Who was the golfer who said, the more I practice, the luckier I get? The smarter Norwich and Sheffield United have they've been there to take advantage of this perfect storm, and I applaud them for it.
Yep, exactly right. You've got to exploit the moment when you get it. Another team that will be in that mould who hasn't got parachute money and haven't had for some time, who at one point, maybe 3 weeks ago, would have assumed that it would be them celebrating right now, who come to Portman Road with no wins out of 3, which I guess we wouldn't have predicted. Again, if you rewind 3 weeks, it's Leeds United. It's a sad story. Leeds are going to divide opinion amongst the neutrals. Most people think dirty Leeds and all that kind of stuff. But Leeds is a big, massive club. You just need to go to Ellen Road, as we all did, and see that stadium and think, 2001, this was a big club on the verge of something really big, and it just, for whatever reason, off the field primarily, it just went wrong. And the Leeds would have been a really good welcome addition to the Premier League. They find themselves third, as I say, after a really terrible Easter, 2 defeats and then a draw last Sunday against Villa. Find themselves in the playoffs. And we'll talk about the squad, but I think we need to talk about Bielsa. Leeds started like a runaway train, didn't they, guys? It was the start of the season. It was exactly what the blueprint that we were expecting from a Bielsa team. There was chat about how long will this last? And it's perhaps lasted maybe more than some people at the start of the season thought. But are we seeing this kind of high-intensity approach catching up with Leeds when it mattered? Or is it just one of those championship things where Wigan need a win to survive and have managed to achieve that? And they're just unfortunate circumstances. Where do you take it? Harry, I'll start with you. But your thought on Bielsa and Leeds and where they find themselves now?
He's been phenomenal what he's done. He's absolutely adored there. It's not just it's not just his tactical innovation. It's no coincidence that he managed Bilbao in the past. That sense of looking at the identity of a club. He's so holistic in his approach. It's, as I say, it's not just coming up with clever tactical innovations or that obsession that he has with detail. I mean, one of their fans described him as changing an entire club's way of thinking and changing everybody's lives. He's kind of got that sense of, and he's also that sense of the whole complete nature of the club, but also something one of them said, and I think this is true, that people, even neutrals, feel we deserve promotion this year and have played some entertaining football all season. Leeds, generally speaking, people tend not to want them to get promoted. They've never been a loved team in the Championship, it's fair to say. So for Bielsa, and it's true, you just think, well, the way they're playing, in a footballing sense, they are the good guys, and you've got to say, well, it would be nice to see Bielsa with this squad of players, with maybe grafting a few upgrades on, just to see what he would do, the fun he would have in the Premier League. They wouldn't know what was coming, but they love the way they said about him that he has put everything into the season. He's worked miracles, and some of them are wondering, has he really taken that squad as far as he possibly can? That's given that it is, because broadly speaking, when we were at the Elland Road game, we watched it together. Rich and I were standing virtually beside each other. It was virtually the same squad, with a few changes, a few loan signings. Like Harrison had come in, that had finished on the same 50-point mark, and I hate to say it, as both us and Norwich 12 months ago. And yet they, with that team, he was able just to take the raw material and perfect it. He really was. It's phenomenal. So anyway, I don't know what Ben thinks, but that's
Yeah, but I was going to say, kind of, you've seen quite a lot of Leeds over the course of the season as well, Ben. What's your take on latterly on their style of play and the approach they've taken this season? But maybe this stumble to the line that has cost them automatic promotion. Have you got any theories on that?
Well, as Harry would say, my head is exploding at the moment. I have so much to say, and I'll try not to talk for too long. First of all, Bielsa has only been at Leeds 1 year. Farke has had 2, and Wilder has had 3. That needs to be remembered. I rank Bielsa with Rafa Benitez and Graham Taylor when he came back to Watford the second time as just way too good for this division. If this was a race, Leeds' top speed would be higher than their highest recorded speed in the race would be higher than Norwich and Sheffield United. But Norwich and Sheffield United's average speed and their consistency would be better. I saw Leeds. There's 2 Leeds games I've seen, Rich. The Spygate one, I was there against Derby. They were incredible. And Villa, Leeds, are they your 4th team or your 3rd team behind Ipswich and Cov? Right. Villa, I know you love Villa. I love Villa too, Rich. Leeds won there. They were brilliant. And then
is that the one on over Christmas?
It was
3-2
right close
in the
to
last
Christmas.
minute. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. They were absolutely brilliant. I think Harry is right. I think Leeds have an outstanding manager, one outstanding Hernandez, one outstanding player, and Janssen and Phillips are very good, and Casillas probably very good. And yes, I do agree with Harry. And I'm sure we'll talk about Bamford and the divide everyone has on him up at Leeds. With regards to the burnout, the running stats say no. And I was just listening to the Football Ramble on the way in, and they had a good conversation. You can't measure mental burnout, can you? We can still say they're pressing effectively. But from what I've seen, if they'd had Pukki or Sharp or Adams or Abraham, and this is when we get into the Bamford conversation, I think they'd have 90 points, Rich.
Well, Kemar Roof's injury has come at a really terrible time for them as well, hasn't it? And I mean, Harry, should we do our kind of whistle stop through? Go on,
Before I do that, I just want to pick up on a couple of things Ben highlighted. They're brilliant. The last 3 games, 81 shots, 18 on target, 2 goals. 81 shots. I took it off the BBC website. 3 games, Wow. 81 shots, 18 on target, 2 goals. And the other point I'd make is it might well be that not the Leeds fans, they weren't talking about everybody being tired, but they highlighted Hernandez and they highlighted Klitsch who are 2 of the more creative players who they particularly have been under the weather. They felt they've been playing within themselves in the last few weeks. Now, you don't just say the whole squad suddenly gets mentally tired, but if one or two players are suddenly dropping by about 10%, now Ben, you've seen them firsthand. I'd be interested to get your take on that. The other factor that they several of them have highlighted was that perhaps they could have done more in the January window, and it wasn't a criticism of Bielsa, but this idea that he has this, he creates this perfect organism of a football team, so therefore you tinker with it very gently. You don't just bring, if anything, he's almost too cautious about how he alters the balance of it. So, for example, they brought in Casilla, the goalkeeper, who replaced Peacock Farrell in goal, and a guy called Bogusz, who's a real playmaker from Poland, a prospect, but that was it. They lost the one player they feel they shouldn't have got rid of was Samuel Saiz, who went out to Getafe on loan, because they felt that him, and going back to the covalent bonds, they felt him and Hernandez had a very strong understanding. But the big thing, they felt that possibly if they could have augmented maybe with one more finisher, one more striker within their model, but also the fear that those two players in particular, Hernandez and Clich, who are two of their more creative midfielders, who are they're two of the more inventive ones, the fact that they feel that they're a little bit mentally weary. They don't want. They'd be very happy if they didn't turn up on Sunday. Put it that way. How does that chime, Ben? Does that make sense?
It might be right. It's one of those things that it's impossible to prove or disprove. What I will say, Harry, is there's a lot resting on Hernandez.
Yeah.
If Hernandez drops off, the whole team drops. It's similar to Buendia at Norwich, where he literally goes out of the team and they don't win.
They lose altitude.
So there's a lot on him. You're probably right about Saiz, and I know everyone gets injuries, but Bamford's been out most of the season. Roof's had 2 spells out. Hernandez was out over Christmas. Berardi's only just come back. Cooper was out for a little bit. Douglas is currently out. Dallas is just.
Is Alioski? Where's Alioski?
He's out.
Alioski's done for the season. They've no left backs whatsoever. They have. I know everyone gets injuries, but when you think about they're competing with Norwich and Sheffield United, and Norwood didn't get injured, Sharp didn't get injured, Pookie didn't get injured, and Buendia didn't get injured. Do you know what I mean? The really important players for the. So yeah, there might be something in that Harry. Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll go through this. Should we go through the squad, Harry? Because the first thing I was going to call out is, and we talked about Sheffield United last week. Billy Sharp gets injured for a few weeks, and who comes in to replace him? One of McGoldrick, Medine, Hogan. I'm looking at the squad here at Leeds, and you've got Kemar Roofe out, and it's Patrick Bamford and Isaiah Brown, maybe, or
Izzy Brown, possibly.
Sorry,
Tyler Roberts went up front earlier in the season.
Exactly.
And there isn't that maybe that depth that maybe there is at Sheffield United. Certainly, maybe Norwich, particularly at that end of the pitch. Should we start there and work our way back? Because I'm sure Ben wants to talk about Bamford and the Bamford dilemma, or whatever you want to call it. But
Ben absolutely nailed it. Ben, he splits opinion. He really does. Some players feel the problem with Roofe is that he isn't clinical enough, but just as equally, some people were saying, some Leeds fans on Twitter wanted him to have a 4-game ban rather than a 2-game ban for his what was the phrase, deception of a match official? Was that the phrase they used? In the Villa game. They feel some of it could be that he's too languid in his style. They talk about him being half a yard off the pace compared to the rest of the team. You look at the whole the intense ethos of the team, the way that this industry, that the sheer speed with which they move the ball, the clever movement, the high pressing, the turning the ball over and sort of in your face basically, and overloading in attack, and they wonder whether Bamford is possibly a little bit too genteel that way, but he is a finisher relative to everybody else they have in the squad. The lack of ruthlessness. They were very cross with him. They were furious with him over the over the incident against Villa, and I found this absolutely golden quote, which was, "Cheaters are not welcome in this game, and certainly not in a Leeds shirt." I'll leave that there.
Ian Hart.
All right, Don Revie.
No, exactly, Don Revie. That's where I was going. I was coming from a different era altogether, very streetwise. But that's that aside. Whereas with Roofe, and they think Roofe might get a run out as he tries to rebuild match fitness, because he with his hip injury, they think it's more of a kind of knock rather than anything serious. Now, Roof, they were saying about him that he fits the model that they play really, really well. When he was at Oxford, when he first came in, they saw him, I think, more as a winger a couple of years ago, but he can't play to his full speed with this injury that he's carrying. And again, he's not really a hold-up striker either. He's somebody. It's all about movement for him. He does a lot with his movement and frees up the space for the guys immediately in behind then to come through and exploit. But they love him. They think one of them said I bet he sleeps at night. He's selfless and his work for the team is something else, even by our current standards. But sometimes though he can be careless when he gets the ball and he gives away stupid fouls, when he tries to retrieve it, but he's not clinical enough. They say some of them said if you're going to play him as a net striker, he's probably if you could benchmark him against the Sheffield United one, possibly Hoganish in that playing off the last man might be how you would get best use out of him. But they don't see him as a clinical finisher.
Is this his first full season? Because he came from Oxford, didn't he? Did he join them in January? Am I right in thinking that? Or
he joined them in. No, I think he goes back. He goes back a little bit further than that.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, he does. He was 2016. He came in.
Okay.
Yeah, was from youth product originally, but he's so they're the two, as I say. But that's what they have. I mean, Tyler Roberts has gone up front as well, but
Harry, can I come in?
Dive in.
The weird thing is, Rich, it seemed to be that the plan all along has been Bamford up front, and Harry's just hit the nail on the head because we all know Bielsa all season has played 4-1-4-1. So effectively, Roof, where Tyler Roberts has been playing, he basically in centre midfield. Joe would call him an 8 rather than a 10. And I've been just wondering for weeks because Roof has been back now. I know he was in the moon boot to begin with, and then that came off, and he was back on the bench. And I've just been wondering, they're struggling for finishing, why he hasn't put both Roof and Bamford in. I don't know whether he's just loyal to Roberts or whether Harry's right, but Bamford's just strange, Harry, because the numbers are actually quite good. I think he's got 10 goals and probably only made 15 or 16 starts, Rich. But I was at the game against Villa, and he did a couple of nice things back to goal and bringing in other players. If Ayling was forward or Dallas was forward from fullback, but they need a finisher. They need Billy Sharp or Timu Pukki. And far be it for me to question Bielsa, because obviously this would have been completely picked out and put in. But Bamford's a kind of clever back to goal, Teddy Sheringham maybe type with a little bit more little bit more speed, but less good in the air. But Rich, remember when I had my hissy fit and refused to go to Bolton because they kept cancelling the game? Leeds should have won that game 3-1, and Bamford should have scored 3 goals. And Birmingham had Che Adams. And Leeds had Patrick Bamford, and Birmingham won. Yeah,
and I get the sense that Bamford is one of these strikers that needs 3 or 4 chances to get his goal as well. The Brentford game, I seem to remember, he was quite. I mean, he had the penalty, didn't he? But
I think his confidence was shot then.
Yeah,
Rich.
Possibly. Yeah, but he is a spiky player though. Through his career, I think he's had those moments where he just won't be able to get it on target, let alone score.
I'm attempting to quote the whole Blue Monday team, Rich. Though Dave would say, "There's a player there."
There's a player there, but I think he's in this ilk, and there's a load of them now of these strikers that, or just can't. Top Championship, not enough good for Prem, perhaps. But
Robert Earnshaw,
Daryl Murphy,
David Johnson,
David Nugent. Shall we move our way back?
Happy birthday to David Nugent, by the way. Sorry.
Is it his birthday? Happy birthday! Yeah. We hate you still. No, we don't.
No, he's
Thanks for ruining.
Apologized. When he scored that goal for Borough, he walked back and he was shaking his head. He says, "I don't know either." So I'd cut him some slack. I really would.
He's good at what he does.
Who else? So in terms of who else they've got, I mean, they have a couple of kind of really. If Bielsa wants to bring in a couple of teenage prospects, they have a couple of kids who I'll give one-liners to. Who else? They've talked about. What have the fans said? You've got players, for example, like Tyler Roberts, who they could, or Izzy Brown. They possibly could go in there. Izzy Brown, Chelsea loan player. Yeah. Yes, he was in the Huddersfield team that came through, that got promoted. He was in with Aaron Moy and what's his name at Bristol City as well.
Casey Palmer.
Casey Palmer, that team that went up that time, really, really good. but he doesn't necessarily. He's had an injury blighted season, and actually they used the word. This one didn't come from me. They said we need a little more variation and spice going forward. So Brown could give us that. He's a bit of a luxury player. He won't give you everything in terms of pressing, so he's not perfect for the Bielsa model. And he hasn't. Bielsa, like, I think you have to be very much part of the fold. That almost like it's the single mind of everybody playing on the same wavelength. And I don't think he's quite synchronized in that sense. But he has got. They described him as having an in the right place eye for goal about him. So he actually is probably more of a finisher, certainly than Roof would be in that situation.
Harry, guess how many minutes Izzy Brown's played this season?
Go on. Probably 9. Yeah, that's what they're thinking. They want to give him a run out.
Yeah, I hope they're not paying him, whatever.
The loan fee there if it's Chelsea, Rich. Yeah. Come on. That's the model at Chelsea, isn't it? Sorry, Harry.
No, that's a good point. It's but they said, if they're looking for a joker in the playoffs, get him in, because he is now fit apparently. So, he could be somebody, even give Roof half a game to get fit and then bring Izzy Brown on for half a game just to see what he's got about him as well, just to see if he can synchronise in with all of the other players. They say Roof and Roberts will probably give you more around the park in terms of link-up play, but Brown gets goals. And that's why they're thinking, well, it's one of the perfect phrase. It's time to risk it with him. So it's a possibility, as I say. Given
Harry, if I can just come in there, I think you've already mentioned the most important thing. Patrick Bamford is suspended for the playoff final first leg away game. So they just got to be setting up whatever they're going to do, Rich, for the playoff semi-final. Yeah. Which, if it's can you rest Roof for another game and not? Who the hell are you going to play up front?
Well, there was the debate that we and I alluded to at the start as well, that we were kind of hoping or expecting that because they're in the playoffs now they'd be rotating. But your point is that they're in. Is it the under-23s or the under-18s?
Yeah,
they have a game on Monday.
They beat Cov, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah.
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 And played extra time.
Or aren't they playing Cov?
No, I think the final. Oh, it could be that. And Jack Clark, who Harry we might have been mentioning, played 120 minutes as well. So he's probably not going to be. Playing on Sunday as well, but I believe the final's on Monday. Someone fact check me on that.
I'll get looking.
Yeah.
So we don't imagine rotation will be as maybe significant as it might have been otherwise.
No, if it's the final of the whatever cup that is, and at Joe Fairs on that one because he'd know way more about under 23 stuff than me. But sorry, Harry. Carry on.
No, just the two fringe players up front, who one of whom has been on the bench. They're both 17-year-old. Matthew Bogusz, who's ex-Ruch Chorzów, forgive the pronunciation, Poland, very promising Polish player. I've seen the classic YouTube clips of him, but they do comment on the under-23 games. You don't give him space at the edge of the penalty area. He's got a shot on him. He really does. He's quite dangerous. He's quite a different type of midfielder to anything they have, in that he has that incisiveness, and whereas the others will try and play in, he seems to be more, if you give him space, he can. What's the phrase? Top bins, is that the phrase they use? I think.
Right,
he's got that in it. He's got a rasping shot. The other player, who again is an odd fit, is a guy called Ryan Edmondson, 17-year-old. Some of them want him to have a run out against us. He's more of a traditional centre forward. One of them described him as a target man, which is odd for a Bielsa team. You wouldn't see him in there, but you never know. They'll think he's a big, strong line leader. So again, he could be somebody to practice a focal point. Given how desperate they are for resources, I'll mention them because they may well pop up off the bench on Sunday. You never know.
And Harry, you don't want to stick Kamar Roof in there and injure your one if he's not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Injure your one striker for likely Derby away in the playoff semi-finals.
Exactly that, yeah. On the Derby front, they're terrified of Derby. I mean, there's a rich history between the two clubs. I think for years, Derby couldn't beat Derby
twice this season.
Yeah, yes, that's a good point. But they're worried with the Spygate event as well. They're worried about seeing Frank Lampard's smug face at Elland Road after the second leg. But Derby have their own ghosts to kill at the weekend as well. They've got to get to the playoffs.
Well, exactly right. And it's Tony Pulis' brother that is chasing them down. So
indeed, yeah, it's all. It'll be fun.
The one person you don't want waiting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tony Pulis sitting in Middlesbrough going, all right then, lads. Okay, fine. I'll have that then.
An early couple of goals, exactly. Yeah.
1-0, a Sombalonga, 3 shots. Yeah, fine, I'll take it.
Sexy
Oh,
football,
dear.
fewless ball.
Um,
Harry,
uh,
I'm looking at the
so,
clock and we're 35 minutes in, so I reckon.
all right, we'll hammer through very quickly.
Can we do them in 10
Let's
minutes,
look
do
at
you
the,
think?
yeah, we can do. We can blast into them. The other options up front, possibly Tyler. Um, he apparently they were singing his praises after the Villa game. They said Villa were scared to death of him. He made a switch at half time where he took off Harrison and Dallas on the left side, and he brought on Berardi and Roberts, and it seemed to transform they got the dodgy goal down the left side. We won't go into that, but it was more the fact that Roberts seemed to give them more balance and purpose on that side of the field. They say about him that he gives much better balance when he's out on the wing. That they feel that's his natural position, and he seems to he gives the rest of the midfield some structure, and he also, particularly if they've got a very ropey left back problem, you've got Roberts sitting in front, which might actually just help secure that flank, sort of dropping into Mick logic.
Harry, just quickly, I think the other thing
Go
was they wanted Forshaw in the same area as Grealish on Saturday, which I think is why Roberts wasn't in centre midfield. Carry on.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So as I say, that's pretty much everything up as possible striker options. Looking at the wingers, we'll come back to. I'll let Ben lead on Hernandez, but just some of the other issues that they have. There's two other options: Jack Harrison and Jack Clark. Harrison is the more likely starter. They haven't done. Everybody describes him on the various websites as a right winger, but he has been played on the left. Manchester City loanee.
Harry, I don't think he's very good.
No, you beat me to exactly. He's
You've
your
been posting
classic
on Leeds forums, Ben. You
23-year-old.
need to stop.
I've seen Leeds play 10 times this season. Harrison starts every game, gets taken off at half time, and then starts the next game.
Yeah.
Okay, he scored in the Derby Spygate game, but that was because Jack Clark was Paolo Di Canio down the other wing. But I don't think Harrison's good.
Works his socks off and defends well, but he's like a headless chicken going forward. Can Bielsa turn it into an end product? It's the classic young winger. They describe him as an average footballer. He always tries to get close to goal to create chances, but usually without scoring. He hasn't got another level. And one of them said he shouldn't be signed permanently. Whether they go up or don't go up, they don't rate him at all. The other option on the left wing, I'll just mention very briefly Jack Clark, who could be a bench option, but again, given there's nothing writing on the game, Bielsa could throw him in. He's a very promising 18-year-old, but he had a strange illness in a game against Borough, February draw, and he's very much a bench option. He was taken ill in the dugout, was taken away, and they feel that he's a youngster with an abundance of raw talent, but he struggled when he came off the bench against Wigan and Brentford. Particularly, he was unable to make any impact on the game at all. They feel just take him out of the firing line till next season. They feel let him rebuild. Playing him isn't actually doing his confidence.
He's going to be great, Harry. Either wing as well. Brilliant player.
Yeah. So they're the two, as I say, those two possibly as well. Tyler Roberts out wide, and then we come on to Pablo Hernandez. Take it away, Ben.
Oh, just glorious. Probably the best player I've seen this season, Rich, and it's the master of the half position. So he'll play on the right, and a lot of people have been starting to say, "Oh, Alan Judge, do." Alan Judge should try and do exactly what Pablo Hernandez does, which is start out on the right, come deep, and Bielsa's teams, Rich, is counter-attack, and just if you see a counter-attack start and Pablo Hernandez receive the ball on the half turn just inside, you are screwed because he's going to have a brilliant first touch, and I know we don't go too big on the stats, but key passes, pass completion, assists, off the charts, best player in the division, and all the stats say it. I know Harry said tired, 34, but too good for this division. Champions League quarter-finalist with Valencia. Brilliant player. And if you're sitting in the Pioneer, if Jack Harrison goes off at half-time and Leeds shoot that way first, you get him both, because he'll swap wings at half-time as well, and you get him both halves, which would be well. But big favourite of mine, Rich.
Yep. He's
They described
Sorry,
one small little extra side. I'd say they all say that when he actually drifts inside, he's more creative. Sorry, just to echo what Ben was saying. Go on. Sorry, Rich.
I was going to say. So I watched the Villa. I wasn't at the stadium, but the conversation we had at the start about players starting outside, I did think that Hernandez wasn't the same player in the Villa game on Sunday as he had been earlier in the season. That was telling for me. And I think he is the marquee player that drags them up a little bit.
Oh, they won't win the playoffs if he's not playing well.
Yeah.
They won't. Period.
Yeah.
And I think that's possibly part of it. And the more I think about it as well, the more I hear from both of you, it does feel more that Bielsa is this big presence that has dragged everything up, because there's a lot of good players in here, but these are not top tier champion. Hernandez aside.
Wait and see what Harry says about Luke Ayling in a minute.
Well, I like the back four. I love the back four. In fact, both sides. But it does feel Bielsa is the X factor for this team.
I totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Harry, talk to us about Forshaw and Klitsch then.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. Klitsch, again, what I said earlier about possible issues around tiredness. If anything, there was a stronger drumbeat about that than there was about Hernandez, particularly against Brentford. He apparently so you don't want a tired midfielder playing against Brentford. That's all I'm saying. It's the last thing you need. And Brentford with their tails up, nothing to play for, and it's sunny. Oh, let's go out and rip whoever comes nearest to shreds. He was pulled around at Brentford, leaving space for Sergio Canos to exploit, was what they said. He was off the pace for long periods. Again, you're playing Brentford, factor that in. But his role, it's kind of, I think it was Bielsa used the phrase, he's a kind of mixed midfielder. He has a very difficult job to do in that he's kind of covering both left and right within the middle, closing down, also attacking defenders. So he's, it's kind of multi-purpose box-to-box role, but also but also throwing in the having to be technical. Oh, and score a whole load of goals in the process as well. It's a huge responsibility that he has on his shoulders. Whereas Forshaw is seen more as they described him more as a water carrier than a creative force. He's at his best when he's solid and industrious. He's good at winning tackles. When one of them said he put in a real David Batty performance against Villa, and that is high praise in Leeds speak. It really is.
Great player.
But he's different. He's unlike Klitsch in that he finds it hard to help offensively when he gets up the field. Some of the long highlights clips I saw of the Brentford and Villa games, when he get in near a goal, it just didn't happen for him at all. I shouldn't be saying that too loudly, but that's where he's that's something he's missing. The other pattern, and this came up going through a number of matchday threads through the spring, he can be casual at times. And they said one of the things there's a little thing one of them spotted, giving the ball away in dangerous areas, often at the beginning of a half. It's a tiny little, open a little bank account on that one, but he can be a little bit casual. But him and Klitsch together work really, really well, sitting in front of Phillips. They think that definitely is the best midfield three. Side quick word, we'll come on to Calvin Phillips in a minute, but Jamie Shackleton is the other possibility who might come in on Sunday. You've got to include these
Harry,
people because
he
you don't
could even
know.
play left back.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Shackleton plays left back.
Yep.
But carry on. Sorry.
You jumped in ahead of me. Spot on. They said he's played at right back several times this season. He's quick, though not necessarily a natural defender, but he's so fast he's able to get the ball back if someone goes past him. And they said, my word, he's quick, moving from full back into attack in a flash. That's on the right, but he could play. Given if Bielsa looks at who we've got, he thinks, well, actually, you could, and with little on the game, you could actually flip him across to the left. Pace and energy, and a little bit of magic about him as well. And for such a little fella, he's got such heart. They really like him. 19-year-old youth product. So he can play in the midfield. That's where they think ultimately he will be. But he could just as equally drop out wide into a defensive position. Which takes us on then to the other big name, which is Calvin Phillips. And Phillips is they describe him, the improvement under Bielsa is incredible, and he's drifted back in previous regimes. He was further up the field, but by drifting him back, he fits perfectly into Bielsa's playing style because he can build out from the back, which is what Bielsa loves to do.
He's in a really key role, isn't he, Harry? He's the fulcrum for this, isn't it?
Yeah. It's huge in many ways. Not only does he start off moves, but he also then is a steadying influence in front of the centre back. So you get the two together. They say about him, he looks vulnerable at the back without Phillips. Now, Ben, you can disagree or agree with this. Several of them said that he had Jack Grealish in his pocket against Villa.
No, that's not true.
That's an overstatement, is it? Right, okay. No. Fair enough, yeah.
They'd had to get Stuart Atwell out of Jack Grealish's pocket first.
Yeah. We were talking about that. Villa are playing referees really well all season. It's going to serve them really well in the playoffs, I think.
No, Harry, they played in the They played in the same area, but we just have this ridiculous thing with football supporters where if a player doesn't score, he was in the pocket. Jack Grealish was causing havoc.
How many free kicks did Grealish win?
Drawing a foul every 3 seconds. Can I come in on Phillips, Harry?
Please.
So Phillips is the worst possible thing for Forshaw because Forshaw wants that position, but Phillips is so good. And Rich, I'd be interested in your opinion. I would have Phillips with Leitner, Norwood, and Bannon. Any of those. I know in this system he won't play like Bannon or Norwood would, because his entire job is to get the ball to Hernandez, basically. But you'd be happy with any of those four as your midfield fulcrum, wouldn't you?
And that's the difference to us. You know, we don't have someone who can do all of that and can actually use the ball. We have someone who can do the tackling, who can then farm the ball out to someone else to do the long-range passing or to start the moves. That is the one position where I think we've been deficient, possibly for the whole of Mick's reign as well, frankly. And I think that's what decent, looking through the teams in the Championship, they've all got them. Look at McGinn can do it for Villa as well, It's,
just two other things, Rich. When Harry described Forshaw as being casual, I think the reference Ipswich fans will have is John Nolan sometimes does that. You kind of think, come on, put your foot through that pass. It's that similar sort of thing. And the other thing, Bielsa, whenever anyone plays two up front, Calvin Phillips moves 10 yards further back and he'll basically be in between Janssen and Cooper. So I don't know if we have enough forwards to play two up front, Rich, but don't be surprised if you see Phillips very, very deep. And don't worry, it's not the Cole Skews debate of are we three at the back or have we got a deep line midfielder? But that's always a Bielsa thing, spare man at the back, and Phillips just seems to love it.
I'm looking forward to seeing our 4-6 formation on Sunday.
Okay.
With Alan Judge playing wherever he wants.
Exactly. Have a look at that, Marcelo. Work out how to defend against it.
Your spies aren't going to help you with that nonsense.
Oh dear.
If he could even say our name, he might turn up somewhere completely different on Sunday. They might get lost. Anyway.
Marco Beloso, exactly. Oh dear. So onto the defence then.
Ayling I love, by the way. Ayling, I'm a big fan of Ayling, and Cooper and Janssen as well. You'll struggle to, I probably say this every time we play someone in the top 5 or 6. You'll struggle to find better defensive partnership than that back two, and it's got goals in it as well. Janssen's got 3, Cooper's got 3, Ayling's got 2.
Can I go first on the back four, Harry?
Go for it.
So look, we've got no idea who's going to play left back. Probably Berardi, but he's not a left back. They've got none. Cooper and Janssen are really, really good. All I would say is Janssen is brilliant and can do exactly what Bielsa is asking him. Sometimes Cooper looks a little bit, oh God, I have to keep doing these triangles and I have to keep getting into Phillips, and Casilla just keeps coming out and giving it to feet. I think we're gonna disagree on Ayling, Richard.
Really?
I think when I see Ayling, and what you need to think with Ayling is some of Pablo Hernandez withering expressions he gives him during the game, as if to say, how can you not do? What I see with Ayling is the same thing I see with Luke Chambers, as in, right, this guy leads through and through. He's like super, super determined. The fans love him. He'll run and run and run. But and this is again credit to Bielsa. Ayling, 8th best right back in the league? Lower, maybe. I just think it's a testament to Bielsa that Ayling is 3rd in the league. But
he's an out-and-out right back, though. And the one thing that at least he gets forward, and he provides an option, and he provides an overlap as well, and he's got a set piece on him as well.
Absolutely wholehearted. I just watch Pablo sometimes when he tries to do a give and go or something, and Ayling just cannot do it. But there you go. So I'm just going to open my blinds again. Carry on the back four.
Steady darker,
well, just when you were saying that on the Ayling front, he's good defensively but makes wayward passes. That sounds familiar. Is there a pre and post injury narrative with Ayling? Because I think he's a good but limited Championship right back who, in any other, I think Bielsa has literally brought a dimension out of him that nobody else could. He's playing at his limits. They praised him for his the Wigan game, they said he was the one player exempt from the Wigan shambles. They said because that's that echo of the Chambers like playing with all his heart, giving everything he had, but the rest of the team, for whatever reason, there was a sort of confidence crash when Wigan sort of equalised, and then they took over the game in the second half. It just seemed to Ayling was the one player who didn't seem to allow that to happen. He picked up a knee injury in October, and a lot of them have talked about this. It was a game against late October game against Forest, and he was out for a couple of months. And they've said that he's kind of went into a shell a little bit after that. He froze getting forward and was weak defensively. Several times they said that he was actually through. And you can imagine Hernandez's mental bubbles coming out of his thought bubbles coming out of his head, because he'd break through. There was space to attack, and then he'd pause. And it wasn't that he'd go backwards or anything. He'd just pause with the ball and you freeze. It was almost like he froze. Well, it was literally what he did. But lately he seems to be getting his mojo back, they said.
Harry, just quickly.
Yeah.
Going back to Richard's admiration for Ayling, can you imagine being Ayling before Bielsa's there and after Bielsa? It'd be like, I don't know, you're a chef or something, and all of a sudden, right, you actually have to fix all the ovens now and do the accounts as well. And he probably had 20 more jobs, and yeah, he'll be really, really high up, and he's very, very wholehearted. Incoming Luke Ayling 30-yard goal or perfect cross or something now. But there's just a very sense of, I don't know how you put it, Harry. You put it quite well, that he's doing what he can, Rich, with his skill set. And it just bodes the question, if Bielsa has another year in the Championship and can upgrade a few positions, it could be ridiculous.
Gotta love a trier. I mean, that's probably where I'm coming from. But yeah,
if you're an Ipswich fan, you've got to love a try.
He'd do a great job at right back for us, wouldn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
but that's a low bar. That's a low bar to hit.
Our dreams, yeah. One interesting thing, side point of me, we've all covered Janssen and Cooper, but the fact, one theme that did come up was the fact that the two of them are a lot more composed on the ball now under Bielsa, and that's something that has changed. That they're more, what footballing dimension they have as centre backs, because they're not the most natural. They're real stoppers, really. They're proper defensive, non-shall pass centre backs, but they are actually adding that slightly more composed on the ball dimension to their game.
Nice balance as well with Cooper's left foot as well. Phillips makes them look good, though. Sometimes he makes their passing ability look good, if you know what I mean. He's always there to receive and control their slightly heavy balls. Slightly heavy balls. I think Janssen, Richard, is... I had Janssen and O'Connell in my team of the season as my two centre-backs.
Janssen's a presence as well, isn't he? And that's a factor as well. I know you didn't want to go down the Villa debacle, Harry, but the fact that he tried to tackle
they love
the
that.
two Villa players for the goal that they let them score.
Would you believe, Richard, in that game, Pontus Jansson was not the most shithouse centre-half on the pitch, because the most shithouse centre-half was our very own Tyrone Mings in that game.
He's figured it out. He's brilliant at it now.
Do you know the funniest thing about that is in the Harry, in all the kerfuffles and stuff, Mings had been winding Janssen up all game, and then when Janssen goes to tackle him, he's like, "All right, mate, calm down." He's trying to wind him up like no one's business. Look out for that in the playoff final.
Bit more powerful. Oh, he's great. We've talked about him before. He has that huge brain doing that.
Come on, Harry. Richard's eyes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the clock,
about
Harry.
Kiko Casilla.
Okay, we get on to him in a minute. Quick. Talk about Berardi and Stuart Dallas, who we have to mention very briefly. Berardi, versatile defender. He came on. He was a much better left back option. He was traditionally a right back, but he has filled in at centre back as well. I think when Cooper or Janssen have been out, so he can do both. He isn't our most skillful player, but he can fill in as long as he keeps his head. He was a walking red card a couple of seasons ago, but that seems to have settled back down now. He can be unpredictable, but he gives us all. He brings extra steel to the heart of defence. His weakness on the ball is a weakness that other teams can exploit. He seems to be an upgrade on Dallas, who has now very much become a squad player. He was the former Brentford. He was more of a left midfielder, really, or right midfielder. Yeah. He was winger, but he's been dropped in as at left back in recent games, to cover the crisis. He's an honest grafter and a trier, but there are times when he does something good, but not often enough to make him a regular starter. And he's only good for about 30 minutes in each half, so you might get a half out of him, but no more than that. I could see if if Bielsa was to stay on, you could see Dallas maybe drifting away next season. He could, yeah, exactly that. So they're those two, which then just leaves Casilla, really, the goalkeeper, who they do love. They really rate him. He's adapted from Espanyol Real Madrid. To be fair, he'd won cap for Spain, but he's tightened up set piece defending. He dominates the box. They sometimes don't like the way he comes rushing out of the penalty area, but he's adapted really quickly to Championship football. Peacock Farrell was who he replaced. Was good coming through, but there was a weakness he had with long shots, which several of them used to talk about regularly, and would invite teams to shoot from distance. Casilla seems to be more. The other word they use about him is he's decisive. He's very assured. He's very much in command of his penalty area. So him, Janssen, Cooper is a pretty solid unit at the back, definitely.
I'm looking at a squad here. Have they got Jamal Blackburn as well?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
I don't know. I think he might have had an injury, Rich Blackman, because obviously he was Sheffield United first choice last season.
Yeah,
I think Casilla's excellent. I don't know about the deal though. I was under the impression he'd been signed for the Premier League, so I don't know what happens going forward. Is it a loan, Rich Casilla? I can't remember, or whether that's a permanent. But I think he's very good.
Yeah.
You might want to find Sorry, Ben. I was just going to say you might want to find a light for yourself because the night is drawing in.
Cool.
While I look for, I think it was an undisclosed fee. I think it's a permanent signing.
No, it is a permanent deal. I thought so. Yeah.
Good stuff, Harry. That was
So
this is where the preview show where 10 minutes is 15/20 minutes, but that's all good. We're all more knowledgeable for it. I'm just going to finish off with Daryl's combined 11, and
yes.
I'll point out the shirts behind me are from 4-2 victory.
John Walk free kick.
Little Dazelle header. Oh, Dazelle! Brilliant commentary from Martin Tyler. And the away win at Leeds in the Premier League season. Jermaine Wright, Marcus Stewart.
Kickstart, Rich.
The kickstart for the a great run of form.
And the kickstart for the end of John O's run, really, wasn't it? Because like you just said, Scowcroft and Stewart started that one, didn't they? And Johnson didn't get back in. Am I right?
Pretty much, yeah. My mate Seb won't be happy about us talking about that. Hillside Sunderland, which we were talking about the other day as well. I'll do Daryl's combined 11 very quickly. We were going to do a little bit of a CV game, but I think we're going to run out of time, and I do want to do everyone's questions as well. I will come back and get your views on the playoffs though as well. But let's do this to combine Leeds 11. In goal we've got Alex McCarthy, loney keeper for us. Daryl's gone for a back four.
Dan Harding?
No. Is he even in the... He's not. Even on the... Daryl. He's in there as midfielder. No, he's left back. But he's got Jamie Clapham, which I think is fair enough. Centre back pairing of Naylor and Pennington is pretty solid.
Yeah,
Naylor is a bit of a Leeds hero, isn't he?
Yeah,
Naylor was their captain, Rich, when they were in League One.
Yeah. Yeah, the options other than in centre back, you've got Darren O'Dea, Patrick Hisnorbo, there's a name, and Alex Bruce, possibly, but
I think he's got that right, Harry.
Yeah,
he has.
So I might be tempted to put Alex Bruce at right back rather than Fraser Richardson, who is the right back that Daryl's gone for.
We've less knowledge of him because I think he was with Leeds for about 7 or 8 seasons. He was a properly established player there, but whereas we only had him, he was on loan with us from Borough, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, one of Mick's short-term jobs.
We've got a midfield three of the aforementioned Jermaine Wright.
Yeah.
David Norris and Lee Bowyer. That's quite a functional pair there with Jermaine Wright adding a bit of
Richard, if you get Bowyer when he was 19 at Leeds, then that's a hell of a player, isn't it?
It is, exactly.
Not a huge amount of excitement on the bench. Carriel is there. But in a three, that's not going to work.
But there is an option. You've got Carriel and you've got Andros Townsend, so you could throw on a bit of width.
Yeah. Jay Livermore's in there as well.
Yeah.
And if you get Carriel's half hour per season, you're going to win that game, aren't you?
Exactly right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you could put alongside him. He's not in the bench. He's on the bench as well. Simon Walton, who's good for a red card as well, and Tom Adeyemi.
Who else? Diego
Westlake
Green
as well.
Is there as well. Yeah.
And then Daryl's gone for a front three of Connor Wickham, Noel Hunt, and Rod Belfort. Name for
Belfort's an interesting one. Belfort's one I know. David and I will know. It's just about my era. He came in and he was signed by Bobby in, what was it? It was 71. He was just with us for one season, and he was partnered up with Mick Hill and or Trevor Wymark. All hail Trevor Wymark, great, love Trevor. Anyway, but and so it was he, but he was very much seen as the main man. But after a season, he went to Everton, and Bobby did brilliantly on this because we got David Johnson Mark 1, if I've got this right. And David Johnson at that stage was a young player; he hadn't really broken through, and everyone was going, "Ooh, Bobby, what are you doing here?" And Belfast, it was great for us, and thank you very much, and all the rest of it. But bringing Johnson in, then you had Johnson and Wymark, which then became. That really became so well established
and
before then.
Wymark, Harry, was number 10 in Dave's top 10 of all time.
Yeah, adore that man. Absolutely adore him. But Belfort, no, it's absolutely, you would have him in there definitely for given his stature at the time. Yeah, he would fit in really, really well. Yeah.
I mean, the other options are David Healy. More for his Leeds prowess than ours. Chris
Can
Wood.
we play all the games at Northern Ireland Stadium? In which case
Windsor
we'll
Park,
have Healy.
Exactly.
We'll have Healy then.
That season when he scored a hat-trick, was it against Spain? He was scoring goals for
scored against everyone, Rich.
Including England as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luke Varney as well.
Luke Varney, I forgot him. Yeah, he's an option. We got Belfort, Conor Wickham, and the other player it was Noel Hunt.
Yeah.
Noel Hunt is another one of those players who could have his own day. We were talking about this.
St Noel's Day, which is the
we were talking
match,
about St Noel's Day, the way you have Richard Chaplin. You've got players who have one day, which is kind of
Luke
in which
Chambers
they are
kind of steal
immortalised.
his thunder afterwards.
Oh, he did. Yes, he did. Emphatically, literally emphatically. Yes.
The other option, who was going to be my CV game question, was Lee Chapman. He was the CV game from the live show, and I was going to see how many of his clubs you guys could remember. But fortunately, the time has spared you, Harry. That embarrassment.
I can't remember the French one, Richard.
Let me see. Let me just, for those of you, Chamois
Niortais.
Dans la bibliothèque avec un pamplemousse. Let's finish off on Leeds on talking playoffs, because that's what they've got after us. After a morale-sapping 2-0 defeat to Ipswich, they'll be in the playoffs. Just checking the league table. They unless they lose, unless we beat them, and West Brom win their match.
They need 1 point, don't they?
They need 1 point to confirm third place. Fair shout. It looks like it'll be Derby or Borough for them, and then a West Midlands team waiting for them in the final. Your thoughts, both of you. I'll start with you, Ben, on Leeds playoff options. It's
going to be very, very interesting. Leeds I would have said before Villa's winning streak, Leeds were obviously the best team in the playoffs, but now they're not obviously the best team in the playoffs because Villa are also very good. We've said all season, if Mr. Gale and Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Phillips turn up for West Brom, they can win any old game just on those guys. So you make sixth place massive rank outsiders if it's Derby or Borough. If Harry's right, and you're right, Rich, though, about Bamford's not around, there's no forwards, Roof's half fit, there's no left back, their confidence is shot, then Leeds should get to the final. Really, it should be a Leeds-Villa final, but if Dwight Gale in the other leg, over 180 minutes against Dwight Gale is normally a couple of goals in your own net, isn't it? And all the things we just mentioned, no left back, no fit forwards, mental fatigue, if that's a thing. You don't know. Should be a Leeds-Villa final, and Hernandez versus Grealish and Mings versus Janssen again, but
it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, that's the great thing. As
stranger things have happened.
There's so much drama there. Harry, there's Leeds finishing third. There's kind of this long-standing view that the team that finishes third, particularly this season when they've been cutting it so close for automatic, usually is the one that misses out because mentally they just
40% of playoff winners over the 32 years have finished third, Rich.
And the example that I would cite is us in 2004 and 5.
Yeah, I know.
Harry, your thoughts on this kind of third place hoodoo, or 40%? I guess is a minority, isn't it? But
no, 40%.
Sorry, 40%.
You're most likely to win the playoffs if you finish third.
Right.
But it's that thing of being overhauled, because I knew once we dropped into the playoffs that season we were in trouble. I knew straight away. I said we're going to get squeezed out here, and which is what happened. Whenever we didn't even make it to Wembley. You could see it coming. It was like a bad dream. We were so far ahead. There was a 2-horse race, and then suddenly it became a 3-horse race, and it went horribly wrong. there is that fear of it because it is a regroup thing. Having been in that little group trio, it is a regroup thing. The one thing I would add, though, Bielsa is a very experienced tournament manager, and I always see playoffs as tournaments. It's, league football is over. That was then. This is now. It's all about knockout stages, progressing through to the next level. From his time at Bilbao, his time at Argentina, his time at Chile,
nearly beat Brazil in 2010, was it, with Chile?
Yeah, he's got, and I think in that sense, he would be able to. I think Villa would be more of a question mark, though. I think he will have learned a lot from that game. He deliberately. Part of the reason he said, let them score, to let Villa equalise, was that he didn't want to antagonise Villa should they crash into each other again in the playoffs. I think he was deliberately trying to... Yeah, I think he was. No, I think he is. That's his nature anyway. I think he is. He has got that kind of sporting ethos to him. But that said, I think tactically he would know how to deal with West Brom. But that's my sense, assuming they get to the final. The Villa game, I think, is more of a toss-up. It is interesting. I think the sense from listening to the Leeds fans was that Easter weekend was the killer, but they managed to regroup a little bit against Villa, and they've got this little oasis of Ipswich before the real business begins. So we'll see.
Long time Ipswich.
It's going to be interesting because I think you could call it any which way, because I think West Brom are dark horses for the playoffs, and if Borough were to sneak in there on the last day, you can't bet against Tony Pulis either. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch, and I assume, Ben, you'll be at every single match.
It's going to be hard, Rich. The EFL are not helping, so I actually want Derby to qualify because there is some chance of getting to Villa at 12:30 on Saturday the 11th and still getting to Derby. So I do not want Borough to qualify because,
good point. Yeah,
one, I don't want to watch a Tony Pulis team, but... so it's going to be Villa are already selling their tickets. Actually, they're in the early kickoff on the Saturday, presumably against West Brom. And as Dave fell over on Saturday, they could. No, hang on a minute. That requires us to beat Leeds, doesn't it? So so Villa West Brom we're going with. But I'll try and be at all four if humanly possible. Rich reporting back.
Oh, good luck with that one. Let's do some questions in breakneck speed. I'll come back. I'll come back and say thank you to Harry and Ben as well for your insights on Leeds at the end, because I need to say some nice words before we finish. So let's do as many of these as we can. Some of these are really quick fire ones, so try and do them as best you can. Dan Greystone, who has been the worst player of the season, isn't specific to Ipswich. But I assume because it's an Ipswich podcast, that's where he's going. But feel free to give me worst player generally or worst player at ITFC and interpret that as you want.
I hate giving this answer. It's got to be Białkowski because of the standards set for the biggest drop, because he's gone from being utterly outstanding and one of two incredibly important players carrying the team to having a really, really bad season, sadly. So I know people won't like that answer, and I don't like giving it.
I'm sure, Dan, there's an interesting angle to that question, but it's not something we like to call out, is it?
No.
I think it's a fair shout, Ben. Harry, have you got anything to add to that one?
Oh yes.
Oh, okay.
Knudsen.
Oh, okay.
Without question. We don't know the inside story of what happened with him this season, but if ever we needed players to step up to the mark, this was the season. Knudsen has paraded himself as somebody who's a line leader, who walks through walls, who will show passion and fight for the shirt, etc. And where was he?
And Harry, 2 goals against Norwich, both at no, they weren't both at Carrow Road, but that's a lofty perch to fall off as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do well to Rich to fall out of favour after doing that.
Yeah. When I saw the question, I thought, you can't really blame any of them because it was a hard season. And I looked through the squad. I looked on TWT, the full squad list, and I went through it, and I just went, the name just leapt off the page when I saw it. Yeah.
It takes a lot to get on the Harry from Bath shit list. So congratulations to Jonas Knudsen, who joins a company of maybe 2, I think.
Do you know, Rich, I thought talk might be going on today, but they have walked the walk.
Andy Mildwater. Or Mildwater. What's happened to Hughes? Is he injured again, or is Lambert holding him back ready for next season? A week hasn't gone past where we haven't had a question about Hughes. Ben,
go on, you take it, Rich. Go on.
Well, I don't think I saw Hughes at the lap of appreciation. I think that's the last time I'll see him in an Ipswich.
Was he running?
He was casually jogging in tracksuit bottoms. I think. My advice to everyone.
Adam Forshaw.
My advice to everyone is lower your expectation of Emir Hughes.
Can I-
Because when
Yeah.
if he was to ever come back, you'll be so delighted. But don't expect him back. I just can't see it personally. I can't see it.
One thing I'll say, Johnny Williams was let go by Palace on a free transfer to Charlton. He's had 16 league appearances since January. So it is possible for an injury-prone player to suddenly, to regroup and maybe just get through. So just put that one out there in mitigation. But no, it's a bonus.
Andy, in terms of your question, I think Lam, as David Diamond say, it's a bit of both. He's probably injured, and Lambert is probably
bit of both.
protecting him. Harry, Tony Page, how do we change the soft underbelly in the team? Is this a byproduct of mixed gentleman-only recruitment policy, or does it lie deeper in the club?
Yeah, he kept the dressing room but lost everyone else. It's an interesting one. I think it'll ultimately fade as Lambert's influence becomes predominant and his culture and values take hold of the club more and grows roots with, particularly this summer with the clear out. If, as the squad evolves, the memories will recede. I think the better we play, the quicker the memories will recede as well, as we see a new identity coming through. And that's why I always bang on about momentum being important, because I think if we start in a blitz and then we kind of have a little wobble, all the old memories will still be there. Whereas if we gain momentum, when we start to get a bandwagon as the season goes on, those memories to me will go a lot more quickly. I don't know. The $64,000 question is our role as fans in contributing to that kind of sense of comfort. I think we have rightly tried to be positive and constructive, but
We've been
because
too
that's our
nice.
nature. I don't know. Is there
We've
a
had
case
plenty
for
of
righteous
questions about it.
Right? Is there a case for some righteous anger? I don't know. At some
It
point,
will creep out if we start slowly, and we've talked about this. It's a big risk given we've not won, Bolton aside, and Bolton are a bit of a harebrained situation there at the moment. I think if we don't win one of the first 3 home games, I think it will turn really quickly. And that soft underbelly, the players will have to face up to, potentially 12,000, 13,000 season ticket holders who've got a season ticket potentially because they want to see something good, something different to the mediocrity that we've seen the last 2 seasons.
Is the rumour true that Blue Monday's Richard Woodward has a season ticket now?
It's true. I put my money where my mouth is.
Outstanding.
I will be shouting and abusing the crap performances from the North Stand Lower next season, along with 4,000 or 5,000 others. Ben, a question for you. Jonathan Cook, will the town on a kind of similar note actually, will the town fans give the team a rousing send-off at the end of the game on Sunday to acknowledge our toughest season in living memory?
I think they will, and it's not about acknowledging this season, it's about saying, look, we're behind you next season.
Nathan Beals, Nathan, I hope you're listening, and I hope that the tone that we struck for the flagship show was to your enjoyment on Sunday. We were told we were a little bit too nice, so I let Joe and Dave have a bit of a run. Thank you for your good work this season, Harry. I think that goes to you. And he says to the entire Blue Monday ITFC team, for next season, what games, Coventry side, Rich, are you both looking forward to most? Also, has Harry found enough forums for League One previews next season? I will say Coventry because it means they've not gone bust and been kicked out of the league. Harry, who's your team? And Ben, I'll come to you.
Bristol Rovers is going to be a great day out. They are so down to earth.
It's a great show,
Really
and a Southwest away day as well.
Yeah.
With the Southwest
it will
guys.
be our big away day. It looks like I'm really annoyed. Plymouth might drop into League Two, and I know everybody in Suffolk will be going, "Oh, thank God for that." But I actually was
on you go, Plymouth. Go on, get out.
6-hour drive from Ipswich. It's 2.5 hours from Bath out down to Plymouth. It really is. But we'll see. It's but I also wrote down there are the FA Cup early rounds on the Checkatrade. You never know. We might get them through the back door.
Benny, you got a team you're looking forward to seeing?
I'm sulking until Ipswich are in the same division as Luton or Milton Keynes because I've just moved to Bedfordshire and Luton have just got themselves promoted. So.
You can cut through to Oxford. That's not a million miles away.
Yes, that's fair. Well, I'll meet you at that one.
We'll go to Oxford. Jeremy, Dodd, Ben, we may be wondering how we will adapt to the new league and smaller stadiums, but I think the big question... But I think the big question is for Harry from Bath: is he prepared for new, smaller forums he will be examining? How excited is he by the challenge? And thanks for all your work this season. It's been a great listen. I think we've covered the kind of forums bit before, Harry.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough, isn't it?
Very briefly.
Go on then. Yes.
Some of them are like Charlton, there are some, and Sunderland, if they're still down, phenomenal. Thank you very much indeed. But some of them are like Burton, Accrington. Some of them are very quiet. So you're literally scraping around for what you can. But if it might take more digging, I've written it down here, but we will find out what's going on. That's what we do.
Find the goals. We'll pound for goals. Ben, anything? I'll come back to you for another question because I should have read them first. Your thoughts on how we all react to smaller stadiums? Accrington, I'm not sure whether that worked for us.
To be honest, Rich, I've done 71 Championship games and you follow COF, so you're probably better on League One than I am, so you might want to take that one.
I guess it depends who's in the squad. The likes of Alan Judge and Lee Chambers, Biakowski are the players who are used to playing in Portman Road style stadium. That might be a bit of a culture shock, and the pitches will be closer to the stands as well, even more.
My only reference point, Rich, is the Accrington game, but I think
that's
we
were
a little
bit of a minority.
We were in such a weird spot then, weren't we? All the loan players had just come in, and yeah.
Portman Ginge then, Ben. What's your biggest fear going into League One, apart from Harry's lack of forum material?
Well, obviously the same fear that everyone's got, that we go down, it doesn't work, the money comes back even further, the wage cap comes down, Evans gets a little bit less interested, and I really should stop talking now because I'm starting to depress myself. And Ipswich Town, the great Ipswich Town, become a third-tier club, trying to get back up to the Championship. That's the worst fear. And
we now have a different transfer window arrangement to the Championship and the Premier League to contend with as well. I haven't read the details of that.
No, I don't know.
It's just another psychological kind of barrier to say
kicking the team.
Exactly right. Harry, both of you actually. What has been your favourite kit? Is the white with the black pinstripes with Pioneer on it that I think they've done a rebrand of or a remodel of? Do you think we'll be shopping for a new keeper this summer as well? Lastly, thanks to both of you for the pods. Favourite kit, I've got mine up there. The Fison's one with the red laces. I'm not having anyone fight me on that one. That's my choice. Harry, favourite kit. Ben, favourite kit.
Early 80s Adidas, early Adidas 80s.
Kevin Beattie, Villa Park, white, black pinstripes.
White and black always. That's my favourite away kit of the lot. I love that white and black. It just has so many good memories. On the goalkeeping front, I don't know. It's a question of money as much as anything else. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a completely new keeper. If somebody comes in for Bart, we'll just cut, just take the wage bill out and possibly replace. I could be wrong. That's my theory.
Richard was only keeper. Speculating. Well, Richie was speculating about 50% pay cuts. From what we understand, even a 50% pay cut will still make Mr. Bialkowski the highest paid player in League One, won't it? So I don't know if that's sustainable.
I think we'll accept a low 100k's offer for Bart.
So, Rich, does he become a first-team Championship keeper, or is he going to be like Kelle Roos's understudy at Derby or something?
He'll be a bench player, won't he? He'll be waiting for someone to get injured, I think. And we're already linked with a goalkeeper from Livingston, but we're linked with Celtic and other clubs as well. I think we'll be looking for another keeper, personally.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
Benjamin Airier asked us about kits as well. He asked us whether we'll keep in Magical Vegas. I don't think we have a choice, Ben, but I think we get less money for it as well. So you'll have to grin and bear it. And hopefully, as I've moaned about a few occasions, they won't have the colour in the logo. They'll just have the text in black or white.
But I did see this question come in, and worst case scenario, bad kit, bad team. Best case scenario, good kit, good team. And I can take good team, bad kit. So I don't care as long as we have a good team.
They don't usually go hand in hand though. If you look back, there's usually we'll see.
Norwich finished third in the Premier League with one of the worst kits in living history.
Their fans bloody loved the kit they're wearing with the weird speckly nonsense from the 90s, so they'll be well.
Why did I bring Norwich up? Sorry.
Yeah, never mind. Blue Soap has asked us about goalkeepers as well. Forgive us for skipping on from that one. We've answered that one. Harvey Davis is not a question. Just want to thank Harry for all his hard work this season. One of the few positives on a shocking year. Looking forward to Harry having to look how much Shrewsbury fans hate us next season.
See, look, Harry, I'm going to bring Norwich up again. Harry's like Stuart Webber here. Everyone knows he can do it in the Championship, but can he do it in the new division, Rich?
Yeah, I think we'll find out, won't we? It might be.
We'll see what Harry's made of.
This is where I come into my own, and I just talk about Coventry every week. Blue Stoke does ask us all, does Blue Monday have any changes planned for the League One next season? I have already designed the new kits for the Blue Monday team next season.
Well, and
we might test them out before.
I think we can say, without spoiling too much, that the success of this show, that we're planning for this not to be exclusively a preview show and more a second show, which Harry might help you out if you can't find anything on the forums. But this show's been brilliant, and you may see it slightly earlier in the week next season, and we'll be inviting questions. And certainly if there's a game on Tuesday now, I think we're going to hand the baton over to Rich and Harry, which should improve our output and possibly make some of these shows a bit shorter for you if you don't have an hour and a half commute.
And if you can come up with a better name for the show other than the midweek show, I mean, don't, because I've already done all the graphics and all that kind of stuff. But
well, Blue Monday fans, please let us know what you think. But I'm possibly, in an act of pure ego, going to consolidate all the numbers for all the shows, so we can be at like episode 480 or something, and they'll all just be the Blue Monday podcast. So
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's an exclusive for you right there, everyone. And we're also in negotiations for some summer content as well, but we'll keep that close to our chest for now. Harry Butcher gives us some praise. I'd read all the praise out, Harry, for you, but we'd be here for.
It sounds like that Steve Wright thing, doesn't it? Love the show, Steve.
Thanks, guys. Mullet, our ever-present question. Mullet.
All right, concentrate, everyone.
I'll ask this to Harry.
Here we go.
To be fair to Mullet, this is relatively lowbrow for Mullet. This is fine. You don't need a degree to answer this one.
Oh, Harry, there'll be hidden meaning in it. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I'll give you a wink at the word that I'm sure he strategically used there. Should Leeds let us win for being bottle jobs who have ruined everything? Is there anything more certain in life than hating Leeds every season? Says our northern correspondent.
I don't know. He's seen. I don't know, Mullet. He's actually seen us win at Elland Road. To be fair, I mean, he should have a little bit of love for them. I'm going to get killed for saying that. But anyway, he's no. I don't know. Just looking at the question seriously, I think the Easter weekend did kill them, but their fans felt they got their rhythm back against Villa. It'd be interesting to see if they do it. Regrouping will be interesting. I think it'll be fascinating. But am
I reading into it that he hasn't forgiven them for letting Norwich win the league or getting promoted? I think is that the subtext that I'm reading in there, Mullet? You'll be able to
I don't know, Rich. I
thought
we
it was
all agree.
bottling it against Sheffield United. Go on. Yeah.
It's a mighty brilliant club. It is, and you can know there's a but coming here. They don't help themselves sometimes because they've got that in a slightly different way than Newcastle and Liverpool do, where they still manage to be likeable.
Oh, no.
They've got this us against the world thing, and sometimes. And look, I had a Leeds supporter give me both barrels on YouTube earlier in the season. I said, "Look, mate, calm down." And his reply was, "Ben, I'm really sorry. I'm so used to everybody hating Leeds that I'm just on the defensive all the time." So I don't know if there's a little bit of... And he was very, very nice afterwards, but sometimes, yes, they can be a little bit... What's the word? Blinkered, Rich.
And the issue they've got as well is other fans hate them because Sky choose every bloody match they play as the televised match. You know, the red button has helped them out there.
But Rich, have you seen the ratings?
I know. Well, it's exactly right.
If you're in Sky, Rich, and you don't put Leeds on, the advertising people are coming straight in.
Well,
saying,
you don't put us on.
Hang on a minute. Yeah, why Leeds bought us 300,000 viewers more than Ipswich versus Forest. Or whatever.
I'm just saying it's another stick to beat them with, isn't it? That they're always
it's just a huge club, isn't it?
Kobold Massive, Ben, and there's a lot of this kind of theme. He's given an image of the confirmed teams for League One next year. I'll quickly read them out. Accrington Stanley, Blackpool, Bolton, if they don't go bust. Bristol Rovers, we talked about. Burton, Bury, Cov, Fleetwood, Gillingham, Lincoln, Oxford, Rochdale, Rotherham, Shrewsbury, with another 8 teams to be confirmed. This is the company that we now keep. in the league. Has it sunk in yet? My answer would be no. It will sink in when the fixtures come out, I think. Has it sunk in for you guys yet? Where we'll be next season?
I think it's sunk in. I think it's sunk in for me now. Again, Rich, you're probably better placed to answer League One questions than I am. But I've been ready for it for a while. Been looking, and I think those of us that went off to Accrington and went to Luton last season, and those who've been supporting for a long time, I've stood on terraces behind goals in crappy little grounds in Elm Park in Reading in the 90s, in Manor Ground in Oxford, and
Layer Road,
there,
and
exactly. Layer Road, exactly. So let's just get this winning mentality back, for God's sake.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Here.
Matt Phillips, any sympathy for Hurst given the club culture behind the scenes? McGoldrick said no pressure to win. Hurst wanted to change things because it was too comfortable. Given the rumoured resistance to Hurst, should senior players take more criticism for relegation, excuse changes, etc.?
That's a great question.
Who wants to take
Harry.
that one?
No,
Harry. He's got a point, hasn't he? Or because isn't always Paul Hurst on your shit list? I forget.
No, the thing is, no, I don't think he is. I just think he didn't realise what he was taking on. And you have to say that for things to go so catastrophically wrong, it can't be just down to one man's incompetence in the footballing sense. For the way we've driven this car so spectacularly over a cliff that you can't put it down to Hurst. I'd also add in that I was one of the many who bought into the hype in the summer. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, me too.
Let's not, we can't all be retrospectively wise and say, oh yes, you could see how it was all going wrong. No. And I think, to be fair to the players, I go back to Cole Scuse's interview. He was the one who did the post-match interview after the defeat, the sliding doors defeat to Rotherham. And he looked like a preoccupied, worried man. And I'd love to ask him, if ever I met him, what was going through your head then? Because I think him and Chambers, the senior players in the squad, suddenly realised, my God, I can see what we're up against here now. And we just simply don't have, not only do we not have enough, we just don't have anything which to combat what's coming at us. Because they were, we played two relatively easy games.
They knew they knew they weren't going to be able to do what he was asking them to do either. And one thing I will say, and I don't want us to get all revisionist on Hurst. Hurst was a failure, and you have to argue up to this point, Lambert's a failure as well. They've won 4 games between them. Lambert's PR is brilliant, and Lambert's in a position to not be a failure. But
more stature,
Rich, one thing I would say, Rich, when Paul Hurst says, "If I went back, I'd do exactly the same again," I absolutely believe him. I do think he did exactly what he thought he needed to do, and he didn't really know what he was getting into.
Yeah. So. Welcome to the Championship. Yeah. I still often wonder with Hurst if he'd stayed with Shrewsbury and looped back around and tried to get them back up last season, whether it might have worked. But then maybe he felt, we don't know. It's all ifs, buts. Yeah.
It feels like the total opposite of the Norwich of the jigsaw falling into place. It's the jigsaw absolutely fell apart for us, didn't it?
It fell on the floor, exactly.
But I think Mick had been balancing it like this for a fair while before it was going to fall apart.
Exactly right. Phil Y. And worth a follow, Phil. He's involved in kind of the media relations stuff at Prostate Cancer UK. So Town fan, and always worth a good follow there. It's always a big ask with limited resources and inevitable enforced changes to turn around a club's losing culture and belief at rock bottom into a winning habit. Too many player personnel changes last summer, obviously, but what realistically might we expect to give us a chance of a League One push? Harry, you kind of took the last one. Ben, your kind of thoughts maybe on what? Apart from stripping it out and getting rid of the deadwood and rebuilding.
And I go back to our colleague Joe, who gave a brilliant answer on Saturday. Pattern of play. Everyone's talking about Judge and talking about this, that and the other. Let's get a system of playing football that everybody understands and work at it and get it moving. We just spoke about Marcelo Bielsa, who, yes, is a world-class experienced manager. Has managed to do that in one season with newish players at Leeds, and everyone's applauding Chris Wilder and Daniel Farker, who've done it over 2 years, and obviously some brilliant work's gone on in the training ground there. Let's get a pattern of play that our players understand and can execute, for goodness sake. Work at it, stick at it, support it from the sidelines. And I tell you, a question I'd bring back to you two guys is that when Paul Lambert came here, he obviously wanted to do something that he's not doing now. Whether he's completely put that idea on the back burner, whether that's totally not going to work in League One at all, given who we've got and what we're up against. But be interesting to see what the pattern of play is.
I think he'll go back to some of that stuff. I think we might see the split centre backs again.
He obviously wanted to do it, and he persisted with it a lot longer than a lot of people wanted to, when it was so blindingly obvious that Jonas Knudsen, Luke Chambers, Matt Pennington, they couldn't do it.
Harry, anything to add into that?
Just I'd add the keyword time, really, because we don't have money to throw at it to engineer a quick fix, and we're going to start the second consecutive season with a heavily adjusted squad. The concept of the League One tour, but I think disagree with me. I just feel we will, because I think there's going to be right. We don't have any strikers.
My question to you, Harry, quickly.
Hang on, we don't have any strikers. We don't have any width. We have two rookie fullbacks who should be good enough in League One. We have a centre back who is error prone and needs a more experienced one beside him, who has had the most difficult season trying to keep the whole thing together. And we have some possibly creative players in the middle of the field. We have a ridiculously unbalanced squad.
Go on, Ben.
Go on, Ben.
I was just going to say, but realistically, how many of them are going to be gone, though?
Yeah.
I still think there'll be a lot of players start that first game. Well, look, my question to you then, Harry, would be how many players that start the first game are already on the books now?
I
think it'll be quite a lot.
I think it'll be 2/3 of the 11. I think will already be here at least.
What do you think, Harry?
I think it could be lower. I think you could be looking at 4 or 5. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Given the scale, we've lost. Look, I've just gone through it.
Yeah.
Look who we don't have. Look who we don't have. That's the scale of the rebuild.
It is, but
it's the most
foundations in it, Harry.
Squad.
I don't think. I don't think you can totally strip it back. I think we will end up with one or both of Emmanuel and Kenlock at fullback. I think Bart will still probably be there. Actually, I think if Bart leaves, it will be a late August type situation for him. Someone will panic and go for him. So he'll still be there. It'll be one of NCIL or Chambers, if not both of those. Maybe Wolfenden is already in the books. The midfield, I think, picks itself. I agree with you totally. For me, it's the front 3/5 where.
Would you be surprised, Rich, if Jackson and Harrison were up front for the first game of next season?
I wouldn't, unless we're going to get rid of them. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
I agree with you, Harry, that it would be nice to have some upgrades, but I don't know how different it will be.
Yeah,
well,
and it might be not easy to. The players on contracts, they might not be easy to, if Lambert doesn't fancy him, to get rid of him. Yeah, we'll find out in the coming weeks.
You may well be right with the lack of money would support that. We're just going to have to work with what we've got. But it just strikes me that looking at where we are now, it is such a mess.
Yeah.
It is such an unholy mess of a team.
Harry, I remember you saying this earlier in the season as well. It's been a mess for so long. When you talk about the squad being unbalanced, it feels like it's been unbalanced for years. You know, the length of time. I know, Rich, we've done this to death. We haven't had a right back, and Mick never had wide players anyway. They were always converted from other positions.
They were defensive wingers. Yeah. But then mirror the whole thing back though to Phil's question about the losing culture and belief. And that's the thing that scares me. That's what scares me about this dog's dinner of a group of players that we now have, with some potential in there. That it needs fundamental shaping, which takes me back to the time question. In many ways, this is Marcus Evans' biggest ever summer window.
And I was going to say, any other owner than Evans, and I think you would probably see that. I think the trouble is we'll compromise, won't we? And we'll penny pinch. And Joe was fearing that in terms of the integration of the youth academy players. It will be because we couldn't get someone on a free or a loan from a Premier League club, or give a cursory amount of money to someone to prize them away. But let's reserve judgment until. But I think really interesting debate.
I can see it both ways.
Exactly right.
It's fascinating summer.
3 more. Let's skip through these. I think 2 of them are really easy as well. Favourite game this season? I think I know yours, Harry, but I'll confirm for sure. Favourite game?
Well, Swansea, the Mad Swansea away game.
I was going to say the Mad Swansea game,
Swansea away game, Go ahead.
Ben?
Ben.
Yeah, Reading 2-2 because I sat
great
there
shout.
at half time thinking we're going to finish about 13th here. This is going to be brilliant. I had more hope after that first half than I did at any other point of the season. Obviously, false dawn, wasn't it? But I had hope then. Whereas I looked back at the Swansea stats from that Swansea game, Harry, recently, and it was great. But by God, we were lucky in that game, weren't we?
Yeah. And I'll add in taking the lead against Norwich at home. That was when I had hope that Hurst knew what he was doing, and that quickly went against us as well.
Talking about all buying into type, a quick extra little one which I should mention: the first 20 minutes at Exeter, when I foolishly messaged Ben to say that I said I've seen the New Jerusalem, I've been to the mountaintop.
You're not finding that text, are you, Ben?
I'm finding it. Oh no, I won't do it. I think it said they're playing some delightful stuff or something.
Yeah,
I was on holiday, wasn't I, Harry?
Lovely
Yeah,
stuff.
we were in France. I think it was just the illusion, just was the mirage appeared in the desert.
Arthur Pickthorne asks us a serious question. I mean, there's a lot of debate had about Judge. Do you agree that playing Judge ahead of three midfielders starves him of space and time and forces him out wide? He needs to be one of the three with two strikers ahead of him. Thank you both for your brilliant work all the season. Thank you, Arthur, for your questions. Any thoughts on Judge being ahead of the midfielders? Or, I mean, we talked about patterns of play and all that kind of stuff, and that's
Can
yet
I
to be
get across
decided.
again, Rich,
Go on,
and say
Ben. Yeah.
it doesn't bloody well matter if the rest of the team is not functioning in a way that is sensible.
Yeah.
Judge can't. Doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
At the moment, Judge doesn't work because he's playing in a terrible team.
And making up for the deficiencies of the creative players alongside
Richard,
him and attacking
frankly,
players.
Probably overdoing it, trying too hard to make up for it. And
exactly.
then, as Harry always says, taking to excess, that then becomes a weakness, doesn't it? There's a lot needs to be done, and let's not mention Norwich, but let's mention another. Let's mention Leeds. How many times this season have Leeds practiced? Here's the triangle. It's Janssen and Cooper. There's Phillips there. Fullbacks go there. We know what's happening.
Yeah.
How well practiced is that?
Yeah.
Let's have
And we've
these
had 5 different systems through the season and 3 different managers
and rotations and oh god, yeah.
And
He's
look
hoping.
at
Go on, Harry.
Yeah, look at the infrastructure Judge had at Brentford. That's how I would just draw the contrast, because there you had strength and threats out wide. So when he went in, when he cut inside, you knew there was going to be a fullback hammering along the outside. You had strikers dropping out. You know, it was all the geometry, the quality was there, as well as the geometry, all those triangles. It's the two together. But
Richard,
it's not
we should just apologise to Arthur, because we're not saying it's not a relevant question, Harry.
It's a good
but
question.
There's a whole stage before that,
Yeah.
that can be answered, and we're not shitting on the question or anything. But
No.
We're talking about Judge now, currently in a dysfunctional team, aren't we?
Yeah.
Comparing it to what it should be.
Yeah, Judge is killing himself, doing absolutely everything he can. I think, you know, if anything, he should relax about the goal scoring thing. I'd say he needs the structure. He's a symptom of the wider problem of the lack of attacking structure that we have. Yeah, it's a great question.
If you put a 20 quid bottle of beautiful ketchup on a McDonald's burger, it will still taste like crap.
And I haven't got a nice analogy.
Put it on a nice burger. Make a nice burger before you put the
it
dressing
alongside
on.
some steak or some sweet potato fries. Is at least we've got the building blocks. Judge is in the building. He's on a contract. He's a quality player if you can figure out a system around him to bring out the best of him. So let's hope Lambert can do that. And let's end with an administrative question, along with some praise from Andreas Christiansen, our mate from the videos. Do you remember our pre-season
he was fantastic,
prediction video? Maybe didn't go as we expected, Andreas, but excellent podcast. Thank you for that. Will the preview show be on when we kick off in August? Depending on who's our first fixtures against. If it's someone who hasn't got a fans forum, but we will be. Negotiations we can confirm are complete. We've given you the details of a slight revamp of the kind of midweek schedule. Harry and I and Ben and the rest of the team, all being well over the summer, depending on whether we change loyalties to Coventry or something like that. And the Coventry podcast, I don't know if one exists, plucks me from obscurity.
Well, and it's going to be great, Rich, because I'm sure Harry's going to go away and do the work, and we're not going to be listening to what he's saying going, oh, Derby, I know Derby, Forest, I know Forest, you know, West Brom are in the Premier League. We're going to be listening going, oh, right, okay, I'll look out for him. right? They play that way. Oh, okay. We're not. No one knows, and there's going to be. I dare say there's what I call national. I heard some national journalists talking on the Sunday supplement on Sky, pretending they knew what they were talking about, and they're sort of talking about Norwich, and they were going Delia, and talking about Bolton, and talking about Djorkaeff, and on the Blue Monday podcast, we are not going to pretend we know what we're talking about League One yet, but we have a man on our team who's going to get us all smartened up, and these previews are going to be good.
Yeah. Are we up for doing? We haven't talked about this. I mean, to talk about it live, I'm up for doing the Grand Tour. We did. Remember, Ben? Yes. We went all around the UK, around the Championship back in July, and I'm already sort of dusting down the pen. So we just don't know what we're going to find, and that's half the fun of it. Yeah.
And I would say there's lots of outlets, but you're not going to get better. You're not going to get better material than Harry and Rich give you on those previews. Well, even though I'm the most biased person you can possibly ask. I sound like a Leeds fan, don't I now, hey?
We are the best, and we know it. No, that's a joke. That's the end of the questions, gents, and that is the end of the show. We are clocking in at 1 hour and 40 minutes, so I hope those of you who are sad to see us go, we've given you extra value there. Ben has...
It's like the length of a Norwich match, isn't it?
The good bit's about to happen as well. I'm about to do something amazing to turn it all around. Just some final thoughts from me. Thank you for everyone for your questions. Thank you for listening. Thank you for meeting us and saying hello and buying us. No one's bought us a drink here, I don't think, Harry. They might have for you.
They go in his bookshop. He has to do meet and greets in his bookshop.
No one does the pilgrimage to Coventry.
When they set up the thing at the book signings, he's got a little table at the front there of the bookshop in Bath, eh?
Signings
in my dreams.
But it's been an absolute pleasure for me to host this week, and it's only because Harry puts in an amazing amount of effort. Well, Ben's already talked about it. What you don't see is the days and days of preparation and insights and all the chaff that Harry has to
game weeks
search through as well to find the nuggets of gold. I'm so much more smarter than I've ever been going to Ipswich games before. I knew we'd be crap, but I knew what to expect from the opposition as well. So I'm excited to see what we can do next season League One. Harry, on behalf of everyone, I want to say thank you, and it's been an absolute pleasure hosting this. And looking forward to us. Maybe you can have a summer off now, Harry, or maybe not. Maybe you'll be doing the research starts now, perhaps. I don't know, but I'll leave the final word for you in a second. Ben, you'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, my message is, Harry, get your ass to Rochdale. Get working. Come on.
You'll be back for the flagship on the weekend, won't you?
It's been fantastic. Yeah, I'll be back for the flagship. God knows who's going to be on. This is our 4th season now, complete. And even though the football team are absolutely terrible, it's been our best season ever for our output. You just won't hear anyone with Dave's knowledge and enthusiasm on Ipswich past. You won't meet anyone with Statman's, the spreadsheets that guy keeps, updating them every single week, texting us what's the weather like at Millwall or something. You won't find anyone who does better prep than Harry. You won't find to Harry's Grealish, Richard's John McGinn there setting him off and doing the prep. And what people don't know, and this is getting very backslappy, is what Richard does tech-wise. Yeah. All the pretty things you see on the screen when I'm sat in my car, it's all done by Richard. And, Joe's been fantastic. Amy's come on. I mean, Dave is Dave. Wind him up and let him go. And then when we're not there, Mikey slips in. Mikey's a professional journalist working for the Premier League, comes in and hosts as well. So it's been our best season ever, Rich. And people always say this, and you think it's hyperbole, but genuinely, if no one listened, we'd be very sad and very lonely, and it makes it all worthwhile when we put, and you've done it, Rich, you tweet out for questions and hundreds of people reply and thousands of people download, and it's absolutely fantastic. We're just fans, we're not experts, and this is our hobby, but we love the community that we've built up, Rich.
Here. And you're our Bielsa as well. Thank you, Ben, for dragging us all up to a level.
I'll take that all day long, yeah.
So you'll be back for the flagship to sign us off, and we'll probably do some kind of season review-y type stuff as well, won't we? Just to remind us how brilliant the season's been.
And 71 games I'm on now, Rich. So 72. If I should be able to hit 75. So I will be tweeting Russell Osman, telling him that his record is now superfluous and in the history books. Yeah.
And it seems utterly appropriate that I hand over to Harry to sign us off for the season. Harry, thank you for your hard work.
Well, thank you, Rich. It's been an absolute joy working with you over the course of the year. I just feel we've been able to work. Sometimes we're in the middle of our pods where I know what you're thinking, you know what I'm thinking, and we just it just flows really, really well. It's such a joy. It really is. And I'm really looking forward in the summer and over the coming season when we actually find some weaknesses that opposition teams have, that we can actually do something about them. We can exploit them. We found a weakness that we can actually do something about. That's my fervent hope. It's been an absolute fun. Thank you for all your comments, all your tweets, all the feedback. It is profoundly appreciated and not taken for granted. And just finally to say, have an absolutely brilliant summer.